Assalamu alaikum everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So as I had promised, this session is about SPSS, which is a statistical package for social sciences. This is a very common software used for analyzing quantitative data in research. So here are some of the topics that I'm going to discuss in this recording, starting with what a typical questionnaire would look like using a 5-point Likert scale as responses. Then the coding will be presented to you, followed by data entry, data screening and data cleaning, data transformation, normality distribution, validity test and reliability test, chi-square independent sample t-test, one-way ANOVA, and then regression analysis. So let's begin by first looking into one of the hypothetical questionnaire that I have developed particularly for this video. So as you can see, this is how a questionnaire would look like. So I have asked some demographic questions from the respondents. As you can see in the demographic, name has been asked from the respondent, but then also you have mentioned optional, not forcing anybody to share their name. Some people may be comfortable sharing their exact names, or some people wouldn't, so this gives them an open hand to just leave this area blank. Then we have gender. So as a matter of fact, two categories have been provided, which is male and female, and as I told you that these numbers do represent both male and female. So here 1 represents male and then 2 represents female. Similarly for age, like I told you that asking someone's exact age would be slightly tricky and they might not be responding to that, so it's better to provide them some kind of range. So anybody whose age falls between 25 to 35 will be comfortable enough to select 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. So this 3, for example, represents an age between 46 to 55. Similarly, 4 represents age between 56 to 65, and that's it. There's another question that has been asked in the demographic, which is number of family members, as in how many people or household members are there in the house. So here it could be either between 1 or 2 members, 3 to 5, 6 to 10, or more than 10. So whatever suits the respondent, that person shall select any one of these responses. So like I told you, all these words, all these numbers represent codes for each of these responses. So then within demographic data, it's not necessary that you also ask these questions. You can also ask them about their education level, their employment status, salary, or whatever that suits your research project. Let's move towards the actual questions used for or asked for analyzing or measuring your variables. So here I have mentioned one of the variable, which is called convenience. So the fact that I have mentioned it here is to make you understand that how many questions have been asked for this particular variable. You can either write it in your questionnaire, or you can just keep it with yourself and do not write it in the questionnaire. It doesn't matter, this is your own choice. But you have to understand that how many questions do represent convenience. So as you can see, question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they represent variable number 1. So like I told you, a 5-point Likert scale has been used where 1 represents strongly agree, 2 represents disagree, 3 represents neutral, 4 represents agree, and 5 represents strongly agree. So then you have to make sure that all the responses are similar in all the questions. So because you have used it, a 5-point Likert scale, so every response in the entire questionnaire should have similar responses. Besides, you have to make sure that this code represents strongly disagree throughout your questionnaire. So it shouldn't be that here 1 represents strongly agree and then suddenly here you select 1 as strongly agree. That will create some kind of problem in the analysis and it will not be exact or accurate. So make sure that all the the arrangement and also the number of responses should be equal throughout. So here for convenience, I have written 5 questions. For you, it will come from literature review, or you will adopt an already developed questionnaire. Then we have another variable which is called satisfaction. So same goes for this one. In here, we have 3 questions for this variable. So it's not necessary that all the variables should have equal number of questions. Rather, it depends on how many indicators can you find in the literature review, or how the other person has developed the questionnaire. So it could be 5, 6, 7, it doesn't matter. Then we have performance, which is the last or third variable. So then instead of writing anything, any question or statement, I have just simply written statement number 1 and statement number 2, 3, and so on. So this is just for your own understanding that this is how we are going to have our questionnaire. So for the performance, I have mentioned 4 variables, 4 questions, and these are what we call a questionnaire, and then these codes represent each of those responses. So hopefully now you're clear about both questionnaire and coding. So I told you those numbers are going to stay with you till data analysis. So now let's come to the data entry. So before we move towards data entry, let me make sure, ensure you that you have to, transfer the data that you collect through questionnaire into an Excel sheet. So because see, this is the questionnaire, of course you're going to distribute it among your respondents. So once they fill these questionnaire, you have to follow the procedure that I'm going to explain, and then transfer each of the responses from all these questionnaires into an Excel sheet. So here is also hypothetical data that I have developed based on the questions that I have mentioned in the questionnaire. So here, as you can see, I have provided here the number of respondents. So in here, my sample size is 105, which means that 105 people have filled the questionnaire, and this represents those number of respondents. So each of these rows represents one respondent, and then that row and these columns represent what was their response for each of the question. So as you can see, coming back to the questionnaire, this is what I have asked about the gender. So because the gender has 2 categories, so the codes will be between 2 and 1. So here by the response of your respondent, if for example the person has selected this one, so instead of writing female into Excel sheet, you have to mention the code of it. So the code for female is 2. So this 2 represents that the respondent that has filled this questionnaire is or was a female. Then comes the second one, which is the age. So here age has been given these responses, and these are the codes. So because the person has selected 1 over here, that means the age for that female falls between 25 to 35. Also, the number of families and so on. So then coming to these questions, you have to see that this one will have 5. The range will be between 1 to 5. I told you that range means the difference between smallest to largest value. So here the set of responses is 1 to 5, so the range is between 1 to 5. So the fact that this person has selected 5 means that the person's response has been strongly agree. So whenever you say somebody selecting strongly agree, so then you have to provide the number in the Excel sheet instead of writing the words. So I hope it's clear for you guys. So this one this one row represents 1 respondent, and so on. It goes on till 105 respondents. Then is the time to actually transfer the data, which is the data entry. You have to, I told you how you can do it into Excel sheet. Now is the time to tell you about how you can enter the data into SPSS. So here comes SPSS. I'm using the version 23. If you do not have access to it, you can come and visit university. I will provide them to you. But you can also use any other version, doesn't matter. So as I told you, a quick brief introduction would be that SPSS is used for analyzing quantitative data. Depending on the nature of your research questions, objectives, and hypotheses, you then decide which which test statistical tool will be specific for you in order to achieve or answer that research question. So there are options here. You can pick any file from this recent files, or you can also find out from open the already existing files. But because I'm telling you from the start of the step-by-step approach where you are supposed to open a new data set, so this is where you are supposed to click. Here we go with the data set, double click it, and this page will appear. Within this file, as you can see, there are 2 sheets, just like Excel sheet. So there are 2 of them. So before I explain to you what is a variable view, let me first come to the data view. So now is the time to transfer the data into SPSS. So this is very, very simple. What you can do is, First of all, you need to ignore this part. Why? Because this shows the number of respondents, and that is already provided over here. So this just will be a repetition. This is already provided, so there's no need to copy the first column as well. Secondly, the first row is also not supposed to be copied. Why? Because again, like I told you, here is the place for titles. So in here, it will be mentioned back here. So then we don't need the first column and the first row. Apart from that, come here, bring put the cursor over here, and then by pressing Shift button and then right arrow button, you can select all the data. Simply go down. Now by clicking the Shift button, go down through the lower arrow. This is the last part of your data, so just simply right click and copy the data and come to the SPSS file. Put your cursor over here and then just simply paste the data. So here the data has been transferred. As you can see, if you come down, you can see that there are 105 observations, which means there are 105 respondents, but there is no mention of the variable names over here. Now, how can you change this? For that, you need to come to the next sheet, which is variable view. For the variable view, you need to first see what is the first column. So like I told you, ignore this one. So this will be the first column. So the first column represents gender. So what you can do is come here and then rename it into gender. So you can also give it a code. Some people just prefer to write it in the code form, but because this is just one word, and that's why I'm going to write the full form. So suppose if I'm using code, and if you're wondering that how can you or how can someone else know that what this gen stands for that you can come to the label and then write down the full form. But because like I said, this is just one word, let's just write it in the full form. What is the type of data? The type of data is numeric. Why? Because if you come back, I told you that here we have provided the codes instead of the actual responses. So each of this code represents one specific response. So therefore, the type of the data is definitely numeric. So here it is already given in the default form. So just leave it like that. Do not change it. Here, this one represents how many digits can the data hold. So if you come back to data view, it means that how many digits can fit into this part. So this 8 has been given by default. So I would recommend to not change it, just leave it as it is. We do not need that kind of, there's no need to remove it. But this is something that we need to change. Why? Because if you come back to data view, you can see that all the responses are in the form of whole numbers. So there's no point in having decimals. You know what's decimal, right? So in here, we can come and just, move it to 0. We do not need any decimals. Now, if you're wondering how will it look now, you can see that there's no decimals in the first column anymore. Okay, now let's go back. Like I told you, the label represents the full form of this name. So whatever name that you have provided here, if it's in the code form, or if it's in the full form, you have to write down the exact meaning of it over here. For now, it wouldn't make any sense to you, but if I come to these questions, you will know the difference or the importance of what a label does. Now, values now this is important. Why? Because then we have to assign. See, SPSS doesn't know that if 2 stands for female or 1 stands for male. So how can we tell SPSS that 2 stands for female and 1 stands for male? For that, we have to use it like, first of all, you need to confirm whether here you have to go back to the coding of yourself. You can see that A has been assigned, 1 has been assigned to male, and then 2 has been assigned for female. So in that case, you should be careful and do not contradict yourself. So here, put 1 and then press tab or directly click here and then label it. So 1 stands for male, add it from here, and then 2 stands for female. So then add it from here. So whenever now SPSS sees 1 and 2, it will automatically transfer it to male and female. I mean just for this specific name, not for the others. So for this first column, SPSS knows that 1 stands for male and then 2 denotes female. Click OK. So missing here means that either there is any missing data or not. So because there is no missing data also, this is given by default, so do not change it. Columns means how many columns do you have. So of course, as you can see, yeah, this is also given by default, so I would say just leave it as it is. There's no issue to change it. And alignment is now again up to you. So whether you want data to be on the left side, let's go see. Now it was in the right, now it's on the left, or it should be on the right. See, this changes again, and some people prefer to have it in the center, which will look like this. So depending on you, you can select. So because it's given by default, so I'm not going to change it because this is how it is. Then measures. Now this is important for you guys. I did tell you that scale, ordinal, nominal, when they are used. So what is a gender? Gender is in the form of category. So when it's categorical, which means that, see, there are two categories of male and female. So of course that data is categorical. So then we have to select the nominal for it. For categorical variables, we need to select variable. Now leave it as it is, there's no issue to change it. And then let's come to the next column. Let's look at the next column. This one represents age. Now here, change it to age. Keep it as it is, keep it as it is. This one, change it to 0, and then you can see this one is also, the decimals have been removed. Here you can write full form, then we have, okay, now come back to your questionnaire. See, what does 1 represent? So 1 represents age between 25 to 35. So it will be 25 to 35, then add it. So because I have developed it myself, so I remember it. So then 36 to 45 is 2. 3 represents 46 to 55, and then 4 represents 56 to 65. So add it from here and then click OK. So then, like I told you, SPSS now knows what these 1, 2, 3, 4 stand for in case of age column. Let's move to the next one. So here again, because this is again categorical, so we will select nominal. Let's move to the next one. Now this is number of family members is too large. Let me tell you that you cannot use space or anything in this part. See, let me show you number of family. So if I click OK, it will not select it. Because why? It says there's an illegal character, which is a space. So instead of writing that, I will just simply write N. And then write the full form. Okay, sorry. Then we have, or you can also write it like this. Then you can write the full form over here. Number of family members. Okay, so change this one. Come here. Now let's feed SPSS. So in here, this number of family members, this option 1 has means 1 to 2 members. So let's feed it. It will be 1 to 2. Then we have 2. This is from 3 to 5. Where is it coming? It's coming from this questionnaire that you have done. So this 2 represents 3 to 5 members. Okay. Selected. This 3 represents, let's see, what does 3 represent? It is 6 to 10. It will be 6 to 10. And then 4 represents more than 10. Add and then OK. Again, this is nominal, so let's select nominal. Okay, in here, now let me tell you what does label do here. Now, as you can see, this is just number, so these names will appear over here. So if you're wondering what this number stands for, take your cursor at the top of it. It will show you the full form, which is in the label form. So if you're wondering that what does this number represent, it will, if you take your cursor on top of it, it will show that this is showing number of family members. Here now, it's the time for asking or putting the actual questions. We are done with these 3. Now is the time for question number 1. So instead, what I can do is I can simply write question number 1. Yeah, so remove the decimals. Now in the label, you have to copy paste the exact question. So I need to see what is the question. The store is accessibly located. So I will write the shop or the store is accessibly located. You can also copy paste it in simple form. I'm just telling you how you can do it. So in here now, this is again important. So then you have to tell the SPSS what does 1 stand for in the 5-point Likert scale. So because 1 in this questionnaire stands for strongly disagree, so put it like this. Then 2 is disagree, then 3 for neutral, 4 for agree, and 5 for strongly agree. Now select OK. Then we have this one. Now because there is order, then now we are selecting ordinal data. Fine, because there's strongly agree, disagree, and all of that. So because there's order and a rank in it, so that's why we are selecting ordinal for it this time. Now here is the question number 2. Change all of them. Sorry, this will be question number 3, question number 4, question number 5, question 6, question 7, question 8, question 9, question 10, 11, and question 12. For the next, you can either, you can simply just copy it. Here, let me tell you this, you can simply copy it if you don't want to repeat it for the rest of them. Take your cursor here, select, press shift and then use the down arrow and then copy it. Sorry, paste it. So then that same value will be pasted for the rest of the responses. This you can't do it here. Why? Because then each of these questions has a different question. So you have to type the questions instead. So here comes, this will be question number 2. So then you have to copy it from here and then paste it over here. Fine. Now if you come back to data view, this question 1, if you put your cursor at the top of it, it will show the exact question that has been asked. So same goes for the rest of them as well. But to save time, I'm going to just, here, this is for saving time. Again, you can select it, you can copy it from here and then press shift button, move the down arrow and then paste it. The same set of responses will be provided for the rest of the questions as well. Why we didn't do it for these 3? Because the set of responses were different for all of them. So here we had only 2. Here we had 4 responses, but then the responses were different. Similar goes for this one. There were 4 categories, but then the responses were different. But here, because the responses are same, so that's why we have copied it. For these you have to, I'm afraid you have to do them individually. Okay, now here it's done. So now let's see what else we are supposed to discuss. So hopefully you understood how you can do the data entry. By the way, if you come back to this and go to data view, now you can see that everything is changed over here. The questions have been mentioned just like it was in the Excel sheet, and this is done through through variable view. Fine, I hope you guys now remember it. Let's move to the next one. We are done with the data entry. Now is the time for finding out, doing the data screening. By data screening and data cleaning, we mean that we are trying to find out any missing responses or any, typing errors. So suppose let's play slightly with our data. And here, as you can see, I told you that for the question 1 to 12, it can have answers or responses between 1 to 5 only. Why? Because this is a 5-point Likert scale. You cannot have a response of 7, 8 or anything. Why? Because there is no response in that name. So when there is some kind of mistake like that, so it's difficult for you guys to screen this entire 105 respondents, 12 questions. So suppose there is some kind of issue in here. I have mistakenly typed it, suppose 9. And I did not notice it up till now. So now I feel like my data is, complete, but then I have no idea that I have made a major issue over here. And see, now I cannot even find it. So where the data or the mistake is. So in order to make sure that the data has no issues, you have to simply come to this, analyze. I'm showing this slowly. Hopefully you can see it. Come to the analyze. Come to reports. Move from reports to the cases summaries. Go to analyze, reports, and case summaries. Click it. This will appear. So now we need to screen the entire data. So for that, you can either do it individually like this, or to save time, put your cursor here, press shift button, and then come down, use the down arrow, and then move them all together at once. Once this one is done, remove these, by the way, we do not need it, and then come to statistics. Okay, now we don't need any of these, we just need this cases, right? So then let's go to the options. Yeah, we don't need anything from here as well. So yeah, leave it all like that and press OK. Okay, now come here, and as you can see, now suddenly all the numbers have been transformed in their actual responses. So if it was 4, it has been put agree. This is done by SPSS. So if you remember, we had no data in here. If you go to the data view, I have not mentioned strongly agree, disagree anywhere. But then SPSS could figure it out. Why? Because we have given the values over here. So let's go and figure out if there is any problem. So if you can see, all of them have their responses. If you see, but see in here, because there was no response by by the code of 9, so it has not changed. Now you can easily find out which row is it. Follow this one with your with your eyes and go back. This one shows that there is a problem in this part here. Yeah, so if you look into this column, you will find exact column where the mistake has been done. So let's go find where was that 9. Okay, 9 inner. So let's follow it. It is row number 66. Now come here, go to the data view and find row number 66. Here is the mistake. It automatically found out. So if it is a typing mistake, then you have to go back to your respondents and see which respondent answered with what, and where did you make a mistake. So if you're wondering that it is difficult for you guys to go find the exact respondent whose response you have mistyped, you can just give it or assign it a middle value. So then instead of 9, you can just change it to 3. Or the other 5 ways that I had told you, you can also give the mean of the other responses, or the mean of other respondents' response, or a middle value, or any random value between 1 to 5. So the mid value is quite unbiased, so I'm going to assign it 3. This is how you can do the okay, here we go. This is how you can do the data screening and data cleaning. Okay, there's one more part. Now suppose there is some kind of blank response. Here, this is our Excel sheet. Suppose some places you have mistakenly, done some mistakes over here. There are some blank responses that you have not considered. You didn't know that there is some kind of mistake, and you feel like the data is completely normal. But then, to make sure that you have not made any mistake, come here, give this equal to sign, then blank, or let me figure out. Okay, now I'm forgetting it. Let me see it over here. Okay, this is count blank. Come here, write down count blank, start a parentheses, and then click this one and press shift button, and then move your left arrow till here, and then close the bracket. Now enter. So if there is no blank response, it has to show 0. So instead of repeating this for the entire row, simply just go in here. In this part, you can see a plus sign. So instead of repeating it for each row, you can simply just drag this plus sign, and the same formula will be repeated for the rest of the responses as well. Here. So now, see where do we have any other value other than 0. So here 1 means there is some missing value in here. So then again, you have 5 ways in order to deal with this, which is also assigning any numbers between 1 to 5, assigning mid value, or just dropping this entire respondent, or assigning the mean value for the other responses or other respondents' responses. So these are the 5 ways you can do. Same goes for the other one here. If it's 1, that means there is another blank view. Then go back and see if there is any other value as well. Here we have 1 in here, which means 1 blank. The other is here, which means another blank, and so on. So this was just to tell you what do we mean by data screening and data cleaning. So this is how to deal with blank responses and also those responses which have been mistakenly typed. So I hope it's clear for you. Now is the time for data transformation. Now let's go back to the questionnaire. I told you that suppose this is one of your variables. So for this one single variable, I have asked 5 questions. Fine? 5 questions for one variable, which is also displayed over here. Sorry, as you can see, these 5 questions represent convenience, which is one of the variables. But how would SPSS know, or how would you measure all of these together? For that, you have to transform these questions into one variable. How? So I'm going to slowly tell you. Here, go to the transform, click compute variable here. So you have to write down the name of the variable over here. You can either give it any random short form and go write the full form over here, or you can simply, because it's one word, so you can just type it in here. So convenience. Fine. Now I told you that these 5 questions, this is question number 1, because I had written the full form, so that's why it's not showing question 1. But if you go forward, you can see in the bracket that this is question number 1. So then I'm trying to tell SPSS that this question, this question, this question, this and this, these all represent convenience. So how will I do that? Go to the function group, come down. I'm telling you this slowly, hopefully you can understand. Find out statistical, click it, and then these functions have been provided. Which one do we need? We need mean of them. So we mean that the mean of these 5 questions should be taken in order to find out one single, or measure one single variable. So then you have to come, click mean. This whole formula will appear. So now in order to take this formula over here, you need to use this arrow, which is showing upward. Click this one. Now do not remove the brackets, leave the bracket as it is, and just take each question one by one within the bracket. So take it like this, put a comma, without any space, take the other question, put a comma, next question, put a comma, next question, put comma, and then next question here. So because we had not removed the brackets, they're already there. So now what you're supposed to do is simply click OK, because we are done. Okay, so let's see, why does it say, okay, let's keep it. Okay, let's give it another meaning, or maybe just give it a short one. Write down convenience over here. Okay, by the way, no, I understood my mistake. I had given a space at the end, so now it will not happen. Okay. So it will take some time. As you can see, it will give you this message, which means compute convenience, which is the variable, and it says execute, which means it is done. How will you know? Come back to this file, go to data view. At the very last column, you will see this variable. So this question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have been combined by SPSS, and the mean values have been taken in order to measure one single variable. Repeat it for the other questions as well. So come back and see how many questions have we asked for satisfaction. So 1 question, 2 questions, and 3 questions. So let's go and repeat the same for the other variable as well. Go to transform, compute variable. This time it is satisfaction. So without, or let me just repeat it for you guys so that you are also again clear. So change it to set. Okay, by the way, you can reset the whole thing from here and it will remove everything. So do it from here, satisfaction. Come here, I said find out statistical, select mean, transfer it upward without removing the brackets, because question 5, till question 5 it was convenience. Now leave the other questions, come directly to question 6, comma, question 7, comma, and question 8. That's it, okay? Now again it says execute. Let's go back. Here we have another variable. So as you can see, there is no other column, but now I'm going to show you the third variable, which will appear over here. So go back to transform, compute variable, reset the whole thing. The third variable is called performance. Come here, select mean, transfer it upward, remove these question marks and directly come to, this was question 1, 2, 3. So the rest of the 4 questions are for performance. So comma, 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 and comma. Oh, sorry. Now select OK. Again, you got a confirmation. Now go back. You can see that the third variable has been measured. This was about data transformation. So we are done with the data transformation as well. Now coming back to normality distribution. So as I told you, normality distribution is tested in order to see the skewness and kurtosis. So if the skewness is 0, that means the data is normally distributed, and if the kurtosis is equal to 3, that means the data is normally distributed. If it is less than 3 or above 3, then we can say that the data is not normally distributed. Why do we do this test? In order to find out whether the, for normally distributed data, we use separate test, and for any data which is, not normally distributed, we use different kind of sets. Sorry, different kind of test. So let me tell you how you can first of all test the normality of the data. Okay, let's go to analyze. Okay, I'm trying to be. Okay, let's go to the descriptives. Let's see, yeah. Okay, so here select all of them. Leave the variables. Why? Because now if you're considering all these questions, so there's no need to see, keep these in mind. Or what you can do is you can simply just select these 3 and these 3, or you can take them. Okay, let's go and see it for these 3 and these 3. Okay, let's go to options, select kurtosis and skewness. So if you need maximum, minimum, that's up to you. If you want standard deviation, variance, rate, it's completely up to you. But if you don't, that's also up to you. But because the main point of doing this test is in order to find out skewness and kurtosis, representing the normality of the distribution, that's why the skewness and kurtosis is more than enough. Select. Okay. Now here the skewness and kurtosis have been provided to you. Here you can see skewness and then we have kurtosis. So then you look into these values. In order to tell you more, if to even better, this is something that I will also share with you, which means how you can literally interpret the data that you receive from skewness and kurtosis. So these are the values that you need, and you need to be interpreting them. So the only difference is that I had in my lecture, I told you that the kurtosis should be measured in terms of 3, but there's also another reference that talks about just one of them. So you can either follow the criteria which says that if it is equal to 3, that means it is normally distributed, or the whole data is bell-shaped, and if it says that no, the data is less than 3, it means it is flat-shaped, and the data, if it is above 3, that means the data is more pointy head. So of course I did tell you about the skewness and kurtosis in the lecture as well. This is the whole practical form of how you're supposed to do it in the SPSS. So as you can see, this is the kind of table that we have gotten. If you're wondering why is there more columns, is because they have selected minimum, maximum, mean, and standard deviation. So if I do this, I will also get the same result. Here, go to descriptives. So go to options, select standard deviation, mean, minimum, maximum. There is mean as well. So depending on whatever you want, you can select it. Now, as you can see, we also got the same kind of table. So this is how you're supposed to do the normality test. Next we have next we have validity and reliability test. So I did tell you that in the reliability and validity test, these are used for the questionnaire. It means how much is the data consistent and reliable, and how much and how accurate. Okay, it shows reliability is showing the consistency, and validity is showing the accuracy. So in order to test them, you need to go to SPSS. Go to analyze. First of all, let me tell you about, first let me repeat it again. Go to analyze, come down to correlate. If you remember, I did tell you that to check the validity of your questionnaire, you need to run a Pearson correlation test. So come to correlate, go to bivariate, click bivariate, come down to the questions that represent, suppose, convenience. So, if I'm not wrong, 5 of them were representing convenience. Move it here. Pearson correlation has been by default selected. So if you remember, I also told you that there are other tests as well, but we are focusing on the Pearson correlation. Then we have two-tailed, then we have flag significant correlations. These are given by default, so you also keep it as it is. This is what we want. Go to options, let's see if we need anything else as well. Okay, there's nothing else we need, just click OK. Okay, so here is the correlation test. I did tell you if you remember that, you can also, interpret it either row-wise or column-wise, because half of this is repeated. If you see this one in the middle, that means the values on this side and this side are the same. So you either interpret this side only or this one, both have the same meaning. To make you understand better, I have, developed this for you guys. Here goes the correlation test. As you can see, everything is already mentioned. And based on these significance value, which is the significant two-tailed value, that will be these, you will basically interpret your results. And everything is already provided over here. So then I will also share these, and then you will know how you can interpret each line, or I would say each column or each row. Fine? Okay, this was, and also you will do it the same, you will do the same for the rest of them, or in short, go to analyze, come to correlate, go to bivariate, and this time instead of just these questions, follow the, select the rest of the questions as well. So here we go. Everything else is as it is, click OK, and then you will receive one for the entire set of questions that you have asked. And the interpretation remains constant. The only difference is that now they have too many other questions involved as well. Okay, this was validity. Now coming to the reliability test. Let's go back to the SPSS. Go to analyze, come down to scale, and go to reliability analysis. analyze, scale, and reliability analysis. Click. Now is the time, again, this is again for the items, no? Items means all the questions you have asked in the questionnaire. So press shift, with the down arrow, select all those questions, move them all at once. As you can see, alpha is given by default. There was another way known as split half, which I also explained in my lecture, but then I also told you that alpha is the most commonly used, so which is also given by default, so leave it as it is. Let's go see if we need anything else. So yeah, if you want any other thing, including mean, variances, scale, anything else, you can also select it, but we do not need any of those at this point, so let's continue. Select OK. Here we go, this is what we need. So avoid this one, this table doesn't necessarily be a part of your final project. This is what you need, and this Cronbach's alpha should be at least above 0.7 or 0.6. So because I told you that this is a hypothetical questionnaire, so of course the reliability is showing very, very less. But for a good questionnaire, the reliability should be something like this. Let me go back. Here is another reliability test which I have provided in order to help you with interpretation. So as you can see here, the Cronbach's alpha value is above 80%. This 0.805 means 80.5%, which is very high. So the data is reliable, and this is something you should also be getting. In my case, the value is not very good. In fact, it's very bad, but then it's a hypothetical data, so then it's completely understandable. What else? By the way, this file I'm going to provide you guys. So in order to make you understand how you can, leave it as it is. This is the validity test. This is the, this is the reliability test. This is the validity test. And these are the interpretations. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, so we are also done with, we are also done with both validity and reliability tests. Now is the time to understand chi-square. Remember I told you that chi-square is used when there is no particular set of variables. We do not aim to see the correlation between anything. We do not aim to see the cause and effect relationship. We just want to find out whether a statement is true or false. So for example, the example that I keep giving in your class, suppose if your hypothesis says that the CGPA of female students is higher than male students. So for this kind of hypothesis, you can simply go for a chi-square test. How? Let's go to the so because I told you that chi-square is not used for particular variables, so these are some of the demographics that you would be using. So here goes analyze. Okay, so we have, so go to go to analyze, descriptive statistics, and go to crosstabs. Okay, in the crosstabs, you can place anything on the row and anything on the column. So there's no variable here by the name of CGPA. So let's change the statement. I would say that the age for female students, or the age for female respondents is between 25 to 35. So how do I change it, or how do I check it? Let's move this to the row, and let's move age to the column. It doesn't matter, this one can be switched. There's no, the whole result will not change. Let's see. Okay, here it is given by default, it is given 99%, but we do not aim at 99% confidence interval, so change it to 95. Keep the rest as it is. Go to statistics. This is what we want, so select it, and that's it. Go to, this is chi-square test, this going to go to continue. Let's see if we need anything else. Nothing from here. Format, no, nothing from here. Okay, that's it. So display, clustered bar chart, I would like to see that. So let's just click OK. Here we go, the case processing summary, age, and then chi-square test. So these two, we do not need it. Okay, fine. This age cross tabulation we would need Why? Because we need to find out how many respondents do we have, how many number of people fall between which age group. See, if for the male one we can see 14 or between 25 to 35, and then female there is 25 to 35. So here for the Pearson chi-square, this is the value that we need, this significance. Yeah, so the significance value will tell you whether you can accept it or reject it. So based on this significance value, if it is less than 0.05, then the null hypothesis is accepted, and then alternative hypothesis is rejected. Okay, same goes for the, okay, forget it. These are the tests, we do not need them, just focus on the Pearson chi-square test. Come down, we also selected the bar chart, which is this. So as you can see, the female, specifically the age group for people or female who have age between 45 to 55 is more than the male counterparts. Yeah, so the first one doesn't have much difference. That's why the significance value is not showing significant. So this is how you're supposed to do the to run the analysis for chi-square. I'm not sure if I have provided any interpretation for chi-square test. Let me figure out. Yes, so I think, yeah, so I haven't provided anything, so it's okay. You can just focus on the significance value and then test your hypothesis, either accepted or rejected. Or then you can also just simply search the results on SPSS and how you can interpret them. Okay, next we have, next we have independent sample t-test. I told you that for the independent sample t-test, we are usually comparing two groups. So come here, because gender is one of those variables which has two groups. So then let's do it here. Go to Analyze, go to Compare Means, and select Independent Sample t-test. Okay, now like I told you, gender is okay, the gender is the grouping variable. So first of all, let's go find out the performance. Suppose you can select any one of them depending on you. So I will select satisfaction, bring it here, and then the group variable, bring it here, and then define groups. So this 1 and, or yeah, so this is 1 and 2. Then we have, let's see, and we need anything else. Yes, the confidence interval is 95, so let it be. And now let's go and click OK. Okay, here we go. In the independent sample t-test, the good thing is that there's already a given hypothesis within this independent sample t-test. So the first test says that, or the first hypothesis says that the equal variance is assumed, which means that both male and female have equal, what was our question? Yeah, the satisfaction level between the male and female is equal, which is this one, and the other one says no, it is not equal. So because the significance value is above 0.05, that's why we accept the null hypothesis and interpret that the satisfaction for both male and female is not equal, which means that this first one is rejected, and the first one is rejected and the second one is accepted. So you can also, by just looking at these mean and these numbers, you can find out the difference. So yeah, this is about independent sample t-test.